Ladies and gentlemen, today I invite you to step into a journey that will reshape the way you see your time, your habits, and ultimately your life. It is not about blaming others, waiting for luck, or hoping for shortcuts. It is about responsibility, mindset, the wise use of the most precious resource you will ever own: your time. If you want to understand the true foundation of success, growth, your full attention and transformation, then you must first face one of the hardest truths you will ever accept. If you keep blaming others for your struggles, guaranteeing your own stagnation. Blame is a thief. It steals your time, your power, and your future. The moment you say, "It's someone else's fault," you unknowingly hand over the control of your life to another person, another system, or another circumstance. Think about it. When you hold someone else responsible for where you are also telling yourself that you have no power to change it. You become a passenger in your own journey instead of the driver. And here is the problem: no one is coming to rescue you. No one else will live your life for you, and no one else will care about your dreams as much as you should. Growth begins with radical responsibility, the unshakable decision that no matter what happened, no matter who wronged you, no matter how unfair life has been, you will own your choices, your effort, and your response. Because while you cannot control every event, you can always control your attitude and your actions. And that is where growth lies. Most people get stuck in cycles of blame because it feels comfortable. It is much easier to point the finger at your parents, your boss, the government, even bad luck, than it is to look in the mirror and admit, "I could do better." But here's the truth: comfort never created greatness. Growth only begins where excuses end. Every time you make an excuse, you give yourself permission to stay the same, but every time you take responsibility, you give yourself permission to evolve. That is why this principle is the first chapter of this book. Because if you cannot accept responsibility, no advice, no strategy, no mindset shift will help you. Without responsibility, your time management will fail, your routines will crumble, your positive self-talk will feel empty. You will always feel powerless, waiting for the world to change instead of changing yourself. When you take responsibility, you ignite a fire that nothing can extinguish. You step into ownership. You declare to yourself, "Yes, the circumstances may be tough. Yes, I may not have chosen the difficulties I face. But I will choose how I respond. I will choose how I rise. I will choose how I grow." And that single decision changes everything. Think of the people you admire most. The leaders, the innovators, the creators, the champions. Every one of them faced challenges. Every one of them encountered unfairness. Yet, instead of saying, "This is someone else's fault," they ask, "What can I do to move forward?" That mindset is the dividing line between those who stay stuck and those who succeed. When you shift from blame to responsibility, you move from victim to victor, from powerless to powerful, from stagnant to growing. And let me be clear, taking responsibility does not mean ignoring injustice, pretending life is easy, or carrying guilt for things outside your control. It means refusing to give away your power. It means deciding that no matter what cards you were dealt, you will play them with all your strength. It means shifting your focus from what happened to what you can do next. And that shift creates unstoppable momentum. Because the truth is, every excuse you make builds a wall between you and your growth. Excuses feel comforting in the moment, but they quietly chain you to the same place, the same habits, the same results. Responsibility, on the other hand, feels heavy at first, but it is the weight that builds your strength. Time you own your decisions, you grow stronger. Every time you accept your mistakes, you grow wiser. Every time you say, "This is on me," you grow freer. The greatest transformations in life happen the moment someone stops pointing fingers and starts pointing to themselves. And when you do this, you unlock a new way of seeing time, effort, and success. You stop wasting time blaming others, and you start using that time to build. You stop complaining about what you lack, and you start creating with what you have. You stop waiting for life to get easier, and you start getting stronger. This is why chapter 1 is called, "If It's Always Someone Else's Fault, You're Not Growing." Because growth is not about perfection. Growth is about ownership. If you want to transform your life, transform your mindset, and transform your results, you must begin here, asking who is to blame and start asking who is responsible. And the answer will always be you. This is not a burden, it is a gift. Because the moment you take responsibility, you take back your power. You take back your time. You take back your future. Once you hold that responsibility in your hands, no excuse, no obstacle, no setback can stop you from growing into the person you were meant to be. Time is the most valuable resource you will ever own. Yet it is the one most people waste as if it were infinite, as if tomorrow is guaranteed, as if opportunities will come back around forever. But the reality is harsh and clear. Once a minute is gone, it is gone for life, never to return, never to be recycled, never to be purchased back, no matter how much money or influence you accumulate. And the people who understand this truth early are the ones who rise above mediocrity and live extraordinary lives, because they treat every minute like gold dust, like a sacred investment, like the very fuel of their future. Think about it. The difference between the person who succeeds and the person who stays stuck is not luck, not even talent most of the time. It is how they use their minutes. One person spends hours scrolling, complaining, gossiping, and procrastinating. The other spends the same hours learning, building, practicing, and moving forward inch by inch. The truth is, time is life itself. Every day you waste is not just time gone, it is a portion of your life gone. Imagine your life as a bank account where every morning you are credited with 24 hours. You have no option to carry forward the balance into the next day. You must spend it wisely or foolishly, and when the day ends, the account resets, but the total amount of days in your account is unknown. No one knows how much balance remains, and that uncertainty is the greatest reminder of why each minute must be valued. The tragedy is that most people live as if they have forever. They say, "I'll start tomorrow, I'll change next year, I'll work on my goals someday." But someday is a thief, someday is an illusion, someday is where dreams go to die. If you do not value your minutes now, you will look back one day with regret, realizing that time has been silently slipping through your fingers like sand, and nothing in the world can bring it back. Successful people guard their minutes like warriors guard treasure, because they know every wasted moment is a missed opportunity to learn, to grow, connect, to create, to build. And here's the key: valuing your time is not about filling every second with frantic business, is about being intentional, about choosing what matters, about refusing to let trivial distractions consume the space that could be dedicated to your goals, your health, your relationships, and your growth. Too often people confuse activity with productivity. But movement is not the same as progress. You can run in circles all day and end up nowhere. What matters is how wisely you direct your minutes. That means eliminating distractions, cutting out meaningless commitments, and replacing them with actions that align with your long-term vision. Ask yourself, if today were the last day of your life, would you spend it the way you're spending it now? If the answer is no, then something must change, because wasted time is wasted potential. Every book you don't read is a perspective you missed. Every skill you don't practice is an opportunity you lost. Every conversation you avoid out of fear is a connection you may never get back. And the more you ignore the value of your minutes, the more you fall into the trap of living reactively instead of proactively, drifting wherever circumstances push you instead of steering your own ship. But here is the empowering truth. Once you learn to value your time, you change the trajectory of your life. When you begin to see every minute as an investment, you stop throwing it away on negativity, excuses, or meaningless noise, asking yourself powerful questions. Is this worth my time? Is this activity moving me closer to my goals? Is this conversation lifting me higher or dragging me down? Is this decision aligned with the life I want to create? Those questions create clarity. Clarity allows you to direct your minutes like a master investor directs capital. Think about it. If someone gave you Ward 86-400 every day, but told you that at midnight the account would reset and you could not save a penny, you would probably spend every dollar with precision, making sure not a cent was wasted. Well, life gives you 86-400 seconds every single day, and most people throw them away without a thought. The wise see those seconds for what they are: life's greatest treasure. And valuing time does not mean you must always be working, means you must always be intentional. Resting intentionally is valuable. Spending time with loved ones intentionally is valuable. Learning intentionally is valuable. The key word is intention. Without intention, your minutes leak away into emptiness, but with intention, even the smallest action carries power. History is filled with examples of people who achieved greatness not because they had more time, but because they used their time differently. Think of inventors, leaders, and creators. They all had the same 24 hours as everyone else. They refused to waste them. They said no to distractions, yes to priorities, and made their minutes matter. You must do the same if you want to live a life of meaning. Begin today by auditing your time. Look honestly at how you spend your hours. How much is wasted on complaints, gossip, fear, or mindless scrolling? How much is invested in growth, learning, and building? The answers may shock you, but awareness is the first step toward change. Once you realize the value of every minute, you stop living on autopilot. You wake up with urgency, with focus, with gratitude for the chance to use your minutes wisely. Because here is the truth: your future success is hidden in how you spend your present minutes. Every great achievement is the result of countless small minutes used well. The book you finish, the business you start, the skill you master, the health you build, all of it is the compound effect of minutes invested daily. Waste your minutes and you waste your life. Value your minutes, unlock your destiny. Time is not just passing. It is your greatest ally or your greatest enemy, depending on how you treat it. Choose to honor it. It will honor you with progress, growth, and success. Ignore it, and it will quietly slip away until all that's left is regret. The choice is yours. It starts now, in this very minute. Focus is the invisible force that separates those who dream from those who achieve. Your full attention, the hidden engine behind every success story, the sharpened blade that cuts through distraction and noise to carve out progress and mastery. Yet it is the very thing most people lack in a world filled with endless interruptions, instant notifications, constant demands, and 1,000 shiny temptations pulling their attention in every direction. But the truth is simple. Without focus, even the greatest talent is wasted. With focus, even average ability can produce extraordinary results, because focus multiplies effort, turns scattered energy into concentrated power, transforms ordinary hours into breakthroughs. Think about sunlight scattered, it warms, but concentrated through a magnifying glass, it burns. The same principle applies to your life. Scattered attention warms nothing, but focused attention ignites transformation. The problem today is not a lack of opportunity or knowledge, it is a lack of focus. We live in an age where distraction is packaged as entertainment, urgency drowns out importance, where people are busy but rarely productive. Multitasking, often celebrated as a skill, is actually the silent killer of efficiency, because the mind was never designed to give its best to multiple things at once. Switch of attention costs energy, time, and clarity, leaving you exhausted without progress. Focus, on the other hand, is single-minded devotion to what matters most, the art of saying no to 1,000 little things so you can say yes to the one big thing that truly shapes your future. Success is not about doing more, it is about doing what matters with absolute concentration. Look at history's greatest achievements. Scientists who unlocked secrets of the universe, athletes who shattered records, artists who created timeless works. They all shared this one discipline. They gave themselves completely to the task at hand, shutting out distractions, working deeply, and staying committed long after others quit. Focus is not simply about time, it is about depth. 1 hour of deep, undisturbed focus is worth more than 10 hours of shallow, distracted effort. This is why so many people feel tired after working all day yet have little to show for it. Their attention was fractured, their energy scattered, their time wasted on half efforts. To master focus, you must first master your environment. Remove the noise, silence the unnecessary, create conditions where your attention has no choice but to flow into what matters. But focus is also a mindset. It is the decision to stop chasing everything and start committing to something. Too many people live in the trap of scattered ambition. They want to achieve 10 different things at once, and as a result, spread themselves so thin that nothing grows. True growth requires prioritization. Ask yourself, what is the one thing that, if I gave it my full attention, would change everything? That is where your focus belongs. But focusing is not easy. It requires discipline, patience, and the courage to be different in a world addicted to distraction. People will not always understand why you turn down invitations, ignore trends, or spend long hours working in silence, but that is the price of focus. And though the price may be isolation in the short term, reward is mastery in the long term. Focus builds momentum, and momentum builds greatness. Every time you resist distraction and choose concentration, are training your mind like a muscle, strengthening your ability to go deep, to endure, to persist. And as your focus grows, so does your confidence, because progress is addictive. The more you achieve, the more motivated you become, and the cycle continues upward. Without focus, goals remain wishes, ideas remain unfulfilled, and potential remains locked away. With focus, the impossible begins to bend into the possible. Focus as a magnifier of time. You cannot create more hours in a day, but you can make your hours more valuable by giving them your undivided attention. Imagine what would happen if you truly dedicated just 2 focused hours every day to your biggest goal. Over a year, that's over 700 hours of deep work, the kind of effort that could change your career, your health, your relationships, your entire life. But it only happens if you learn to protect your focus. And here is the paradox: the more you focus, the more freedom you gain, because clarity eliminates confusion, and progress eliminates wasted time. Most people think freedom comes from doing whatever they want, whenever they want. That leads to chaos and mediocrity. Real freedom comes from discipline, choosing one thing and pouring yourself into it until it yields results that open doors to even greater opportunities. Focus creates freedom, focus creates growth, focus creates success. And so the question is not whether you have time, it is whether you have focus. Everyone is given 24 hours, the difference lies in how deeply they use them. If you want to change your life, stop scattering your energy and start channeling it. Stop giving fragments of attention to everything, and start giving full attention to something. Stop confusing activity with progress, and start measuring your days by the depth of your focus. Because in the end, your life is built not from the hours you live, but from the focus you give. Distraction is the enemy, focus is the weapon, and those who master it will shape their future, while others wonder where their time went. So train your focus, guard it fiercely, and aim it at what matters most, because once you harness the power of focus, nothing can stop you from turning vision into reality. Mindset is the invisible lens through which you see the world, the silent architect shaping your decisions, your habits, your reactions, and ultimately your destiny. And if you do not master your mindset, you will always feel like life is happening to you instead of being created by you. But when you take control of the way you think, when you reshape your beliefs and attitudes, you unlock the power to transform your entire life from the inside out, because everything begins in the mind before it manifests in reality. Your mindset is either your greatest weapon or your greatest weakness, and the difference between people who rise and people who remain stuck is almost always how they think about themselves, their challenges, and their future. You can give two people the same situation, the same setback, the same opportunity, and one will see it as a curse while the other sees it as a chance. One will give up while the other grows. One will focus on the problem while the other searches for a solution, and the only difference between them is mindset. Understand this: your circumstances do not determine your future, but your mindset does. There are people who grew up with nothing, yet achieved everything, because their mindset was one of resilience, determination, and possibility. And there are others who had every advantage, money, education, connections, but wasted it all because their mindset was trapped in negativity, fear, and excuses. This is why I say with absolute conviction, mindset is everything. What you believe about yourself shapes what you attempt, and what you attempt shapes what you achieve. If you believe you are capable, you will act with confidence and persistence, and those actions will lead to success. If you believe you are powerless, you will act with hesitation or not at all, and those inactions will lead to failure. Not because you lacked ability, but because you lacked belief. Your mindset creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. The thoughts you repeat become the story you tell yourself. The story you tell yourself becomes the script you live out daily. Story is, I can't. Then your actions will align with that belief, and you will not try, or if you do, you will quit quickly. Story is, I can. Then your actions will align with that belief, and you will persist until you succeed. This is why the greatest battles are not fought in the outside world, but in the mind. If you win in your mind, you will eventually win in reality. You lose in your mind, reality will follow that defeat. So the question you must ask yourself is this: What mindset am I carrying? Is it helping me grow, or is it holding me back? Is it a mindset of possibility, or a mindset of limitation? Because the mind is like fertile soil. Whatever seeds you plant, positive or negative, will grow. Plant seeds of gratitude, discipline, and possibility, and you will harvest progress, resilience, success. Plant seeds of doubt, fear, and blame, and you will harvest excuses, stagnation, and regret. The choice is always yours, and the harvest is always consistent with the seeds. But here is the challenge: your mindset is not built overnight. It is shaped by years of repetition, the voices you listen to, the habits you practice, the environment you allow, and the way you interpret experiences. If you grew up hearing, "You'll never succeed," "You're not good enough," or "People like us can't achieve much," then those words may have formed the foundation of your mindset, but you are not doomed to keep it that way. Mindset can be reshaped. Beliefs can be rewired. The brain is plastic, adaptable, capable of change through consistent effort and intention. You do not have to keep the mindset you were given. You can build the mindset you need. This begins with awareness, catching the limiting beliefs you repeat to yourself and replacing them with empowering truths. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," say, "I am learning to do this." Instead of saying, "I always fail," say, "I am building resilience through setbacks." Instead of saying, "It's impossible," say, "I haven't found the way yet." These shifts may feel small, but they are powerful, because every thought you repeat is a vote for the mindset you want to strengthen. And over time, those repeated thoughts become your new mental default, your new identity, your new reality. The most successful people in the world are not the ones who never doubted, but the ones who trained their minds to rise above doubt and keep going anyway. They built a growth mindset. Belief that abilities can be developed, challenges can be overcome, and effort leads to progress. A growth mindset does not see failure as final, but as feedback. A growth mindset does not say, "I'm not good at this," but rather, "I'm not good at this yet." That little word, "yet," changes everything, because it keeps the door to possibility open. And once you live with this mindset, obstacles shrink, opportunities expand, and persistence becomes natural. But the opposite is also true to fixed mindset. The belief that abilities are permanent, that effort doesn't matter, that failure defines you, keeps people locked in place, repeating the same patterns, avoiding challenges, and shrinking in the face of growth. Your job, if you want success, is to choose the growth mindset daily, to feed it with positive self-talk, to strengthen it with consistent action, to protect it from the negativity of others. Because mindset is contagious. The voices you allow into your life will shape the voice inside your head. Surround yourself with complainers, and your mind will fill with complaints. Surround yourself with builders, and your mind will fill with solutions. Guard your mind like a treasure chest, because it holds the keys to your future. When you change your mindset, you don't just change your thoughts. You change your feelings, your actions, your habits, and eventually your destiny. Everything flows from mindset. That is why I say again, mindset is everything. If you believe you can, you are halfway there. If you believe you can't, you have already lost. Your life is the reflection of your dominant thoughts, and if you want a better life, start by building a better mindset. Because once your mind shifts, your world shifts, and once your world shifts, nothing can stop you from rising to your highest potential. The most important conversation you will ever have is not with your parents, your boss, your friends, or even your mentors. It is the conversation you have with yourself, because your inner voice is with you every second of every day, guiding your thoughts, shaping your beliefs, and directing your actions. And if that voice is filled with negativity, doubt, and fear, then no matter how much external motivation you receive, you will sabotage your own progress. But if that voice is filled with encouragement, belief, strength, then even in the face of adversity, you will rise, you will persist, you will succeed. Positive self-talk is not about lying to yourself or pretending that life is easy. It is about training your mind to speak truth in a way that empowers rather than destroys, because the reality is that most people are not held back by the opinions of others. They are held back by the brutal, critical, unrelenting voice in their own heads. Think about how often you tell yourself things you would never dare say to another person. I'm not good enough. I always fail. I'll never succeed. Why even try? These words, repeated daily, become chains that tie you down, and the tragedy is that most people never question them, never challenge them, realize that their inner dialogue is the single greatest influence on their destiny. You see, your subconscious mind listens to every word you say about yourself. It does not know the difference between truth and repetition. It simply accepts repeated thoughts as instructions, as beliefs, as commands. You keep telling yourself you are incapable. Your subconscious will begin shaping your actions to match that belief, making you hesitate, procrastinate, and ultimately fail, not because you lacked ability, but because you programmed yourself to fail. But the reverse is also true. Fill your mind with positive self-talk. If you consistently affirm your ability, your growth, your resilience, your worth, your subconscious will align your actions with those beliefs, fueling confidence, persistence, and determination until success becomes inevitable. This is the power of self-talk. It is the programming language of your mind, and you must learn to use it wisely. Positive self-talk is not a luxury. Is a necessity. It is the daily discipline of rewiring your inner voice to support your highest potential instead of sabotaging it. When challenges come, and they will, it is your self-talk that determines whether you rise or collapse. When failure strikes, and it will, it is your self-talk that determines whether you see it as the end or as a lesson. When opportunities appear, it is your self-talk that determines whether you step forward with courage or shrink back with fear. This is why the greatest athletes, leaders, and creators all train their inner voice as deliberately as they train their bodies or their skills. They understand that success begins with belief, and belief is built through words. You cannot speak defeat all day and expect to live in victory. You cannot feed your mind poison and expect your life to produce health. You must speak to yourself as if you are your greatest ally, strongest supporter, your most loyal coach. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means framing reality in a way that empowers growth. Saying, I can't handle this. Say, this is hard, but I am capable. Instead of saying, I'm a failure. Say, I'm learning through this setback. Instead of saying, I'm not good enough. Say, I'm growing into the person I need to become. These shifts may sound simple, but they are revolutionary, because over time, inner voice becomes your identity, and your identity becomes your reality. Science backs this up. Studies in psychology show that self-talk directly impacts confidence, performance, and stress levels, meaning that the words you repeat to yourself literally shape your brain and body's response to challenges. And here's the key. Positive self-talk is not about ego, arrogance, or pretending you are perfect. It is about recognizing your potential, giving yourself grace, and fueling your own journey with encouragement instead of destruction. Because if you do not encourage yourself, who will? You do not speak belief into your own life. How can you expect to walk in belief? Waiting for external validation is a trap. You must learn to validate yourself with words that push you higher. Imagine your inner voice as a coach. Would you follow a coach who constantly shouted, "Terrible, you'll never make it, just quit"? Of course not. Yet many people follow that exact voice inside their heads. It's time to fire that coach and replace it with a new one. One that says, "Keep going. You're improving. You've got this. Quit now." That is the role of positive self-talk. To coach you through fear, failure, and fatigue, you aligned with your highest potential. And let me be clear, this is a practice, not a one-time event. Just like physical training, training requires consistency. You cannot say one positive thing once and expect your life to change. You must repeat it daily, especially in moments of struggle, until it becomes your default. At first, it may feel forced or unnatural, because your old negative voice has been running unchecked for years, but with repetition, positive self-talk becomes automatic, and once it does, your life will shift dramatically. You will approach challenges with confidence, setbacks with resilience, and opportunities with courage. Your inner voice will be fueling you instead of fighting you. And the results will show. Not because the world suddenly got easier, but because you became stronger, mentally sharper, and emotionally tougher. Remember this: your life moves in the direction of your strongest thoughts. Strongest thoughts are built through the words you repeat to yourself daily. If you want success, start speaking it. If you want growth, affirming it. If you want resilience, start declaring it. Your voice is the steering wheel of your mind. Grab it, direct it, and use it to drive toward the life you desire. Never again underestimate the power of your self-talk. It is not just background noise. It is the foundation of your mindset, the architect of your actions, builder of your destiny. Consistency is the bridge between dreams and reality, the quiet force that transforms fleeting bursts of motivation into tangible success. Give them your full attention, the daily discipline that separates those who wish from those who achieve, and yet it is the one habit that most people underestimate, because consistency is not glamorous, it is not exciting, it is not about doing something once with passion, but about showing up again and again, when you are tired, even when you are uninspired, even when progress seems invisible. The truth is, success is rarely about one big breakthrough. It is about the small, repeated actions that compound over time, building strength, skill, and resilience until one day you look back and realize you have transformed. Too many people quit because they mistake slow progress for no progress, failing to realize that consistency works in silence, building momentum beneath the surface until it suddenly bursts forth into results. Think of water dripping on stone. One drop seems meaningless, but over time, that steady rhythm carves valleys and shapes landscapes. Your habits work the same way. One workout will not make you fit. One healthy meal will not change your body. One study session will not make you an expert. Daily repetition, over weeks and months, rewires your brain, reshapes your body, and rebuilds your future. Consistency is the ultimate equalizer, because it does not require extraordinary talent, wealth, or connections. Only the discipline to keep going. Even average efforts, when repeated consistently, outperform sporadic bursts of brilliance. A person who walks every day will cover more distance than the one who sprints once a month. And yet, Most people sabotage themselves by chasing intensity instead of consistency, trying to do too much too soon, only to burn out and quit. Secret is not intensity, it is sustainability. It is better to do a little every day than a lot once in a while. Consistency builds identity, and identity drives destiny. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you cast a vote for the person you want to become. Each time you show up, you reinforce the belief that you are disciplined, reliable, and committed, and soon that belief becomes who you are. On the other hand, every time you quit, you teach yourself that you are unreliable, and that belief erodes confidence and kills momentum. This is why consistency is not just about actions. It is about self-respect. When you keep showing up, you prove to yourself that you are worthy of trust. Self-trust becomes the foundation of confidence. Consistency also compounds. What feels small today becomes massive tomorrow. Progress is exponential. Skills sharpen with practice, habits strengthen with repetition, and results multiply with time. At first, you may not notice the change, but others will. At first, the effort may feel heavy, but over time, it becomes automatic. Once required discipline becomes part of your nature. This is the beauty of consistency, transforms discipline into habit and habit into lifestyle. But here is the challenge. Consistency is not easy. It demands patience in a world obsessed with instant gratification. We live in a culture of quick results, where people want transformation in days, recognition overnight, success without sacrifice. But greatness does not grow in microwaves, it grows in seasons, in years of persistent effort, slow grind that others are unwilling to endure. Consistency is the price of mastery, and very few are willing to pay it. But if you do, you will separate yourself from the majority. You will rise not because you were the most talented, but because you were the most consistent. History proves this. The greatest athletes practice the basics thousands of times until they become flawless. The most successful entrepreneurs build habits of daily learning, networking, and improvement, and the best writers show up to write even when uninspired. They all share the same secret. They refused to quit. They honored the habit of consistency. So how do you build this habit in your own life? Start small, simple. Start today. Do not wait for the perfect plan, the perfect timing, or the perfect motivation, because perfection is the enemy of consistency. Begin with what you can sustain. If you want to get fit, commit to moving your body for 20 minutes a day. If you want to grow your mind, commit to reading 10 pages a day. If you want to master a skill, commit to practicing for half an hour daily. These small commitments, when kept, will grow into powerful habits, and those habits will create unstoppable momentum. And when you stumble, and you will, do not let failure break your consistency. Missing one day does not ruin you, but quitting does. The key is to never miss twice. If you fall, get up immediately, correct course, and continue. Consistency is not about perfection, it is about persistence. It is about showing up more often than not, long enough for progress to accumulate. And here is a truth you must understand. Consistency beats motivation every time. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes with mood and circumstance, but consistency does not depend on how you feel. It depends on your commitment. You will not always feel like working, like training, like practicing, but if you rely only on feelings, you will never achieve greatness. Consistency means you do it anyway, because discipline is stronger than emotion. Over time, this discipline becomes freedom, because the habits you build carry you forward effortlessly. That once required willpower becomes second nature, and suddenly, you are living the life you once only dreamed of. So remember this: success is not built in a day, but it is built daily. It is not what you do once, but what you do consistently that defines you. Every repetition, every effort, every choice is a brick in the foundation of your future, and consistency is the mortar that holds it all together. Without it, the structure of your dreams crumbles, but with it, even the tallest ambitions can stand strong. So commit today to the habit of consistency, because it is not just a habit. It is the habit, the one that makes all other habits work, the one that transforms hope into achievement, the one that guarantees that your future will be greater than your past. Time is the one resource every human being is given equally, the currency of life that cannot be stored, borrowed, or reclaimed, the silent measure of your priorities, yet it is the very thing most people waste without realizing its true value, because unlike money, you cannot earn more. Unlike possessions, you cannot replace it, and unlike opportunities, once it is gone forever, leaving only the question of how you used it. The value of time lies in its scarcity. Every day you are handed 24 hours, no more, no less, and the way you spend them determines the quality of your life, your growth, and your future. Some will invest their time in learning, building, loving, creating, while others will squander it on distractions, excuses, and meaningless pursuits, and at the end of the road, the difference will not be talent or background. It will be how wisely they used their hours. Time is the great equalizer, because it does not care about who you are, where you were born, or what advantages or disadvantages you started with. It flows relentlessly for everyone, and those who respect it rise, while those who waste it remain stuck. Think about it: life is nothing more than a collection of moments. Each choice you make is either an investment in your future or a withdrawal from it. When you say yes to one thing, automatically saying no to something else. Tragedy is that many people say yes to what is urgent but meaningless while saying no to what is meaningful but not urgent, to look back years later and wonder why their dreams never materialized. The truth is, how you spend your time reveals who you are and what you value, and until you begin treating it as your most precious asset, you will continue to trade it for things that do not matter. Greatness is not built in sudden leaps. It is built in the daily stewardship of time. The most successful people in the world do not have more hours than you. They simply use their hours differently. They guard their mornings. They plan their days. They prioritize what matters. And they refuse to waste time on distractions that drain energy without producing progress. Understand that business is not productivity, and that saying yes to everything is the fastest way to dilute your focus and weaken your results. Yes must be weighed against the vision of your life. Does this activity move me closer to my goals, or does it pull me further away? Most people never ask this question, and as a result, their days are filled with shallow tasks, mindless scrolling, endless entertainment, and conversations that add nothing to their growth. But those who understand the value of time cut ruthlessly through the noise, eliminating what is unnecessary so they can devote themselves to what is essential. They know that time is not something to be managed. It is something to be honored, and honoring time means aligning your actions with your highest priorities. And here's the paradox: when you waste time, you often feel stressed. Because deep down you know you are betraying your potential, but when you use time wisely, you feel peace, because you are living with intention. Time management, then, is not about filling your schedule to the brim. It is about filling your life with meaning, is about focusing less on doing more and focusing more on doing what matters most. And what matters most is often not urgent, is why it gets neglected. Building relationships, developing skills, pursuing dreams. These things rarely scream for your attention, but neglect them long enough and your life becomes empty, while urgent but meaningless distractions will always be waiting to devour your hours if you let them. The wise understand this, which is why they choose to design their days instead of drifting through them. They set boundaries, they say no, unapologetically. They wake up with intention, and they measure their success, not by how busy they are, but by how aligned their time is with their vision. And here is the sobering truth: one day your time will run out, and you will not regret the money you didn't earn or the possessions you didn't own, but you will regret the time you wasted, the hours you gave to fear instead of courage, to gossip instead of growth, to procrastination instead of progress. Time is life, and wasting time is wasting life. But using time wisely is the greatest act of self-respect, because it means you value your existence enough to live it fully. Ask yourself right now, how much of my time goes to what truly matters? How many hours do I lose to distractions that do not serve my future? If you want to change your life, you must first change how you spend your time. Your schedule is a mirror of your priorities, and your priorities create your destiny. Protect your time like treasure. It is more valuable than gold, more powerful than talent, more decisive than luck. Use it to grow, to love, to serve, to create. Your life will become a masterpiece of intentional living. Let others waste their hours on fleeting pleasures. You must choose to invest yours in lasting progress. Because when the clock runs out, the only wealth that matters is how you used the gift of time, and those who understood its value will look back with no regrets, knowing they built a life of purpose, impact, fulfillment, 1 hour at a time. The people you surround yourself with are not just companions on your journey. They are shapers of your mindset, architects of your habits, mirrors of your potential, and predictors of your future, because whether you realize it or not, you are becoming like the people you spend the most time with, absorbing their beliefs, their energy, their attitudes, and their vision for life. This is why choosing your circle wisely may be one of the most life-changing decisions you ever make. If you walk with dreamers, you will start dreaming bigger. If you walk with doers, you will begin taking more action. If you walk with complainers, you will find yourself complaining more, and if you walk with quitters, you will eventually quit too. Because energy is contagious, and humans naturally adapt to the environment around them. So many people sabotage their growth, not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they stay in circles that drain them, limit them, and keep them trapped in mediocrity. Think about it. You can spend years trying to motivate yourself, but if you are constantly surrounded by people who doubt, discourage, and dismiss you, their influence will eventually outweigh your willpower. On the other hand, you could be filled with self-doubt, but if you surround yourself with believers, encouragers, and achievers, their faith in you can lift you higher than you ever imagined. The company you keep is like soil. If you plant yourself in rich, fertile ground, you will grow strong and bear fruit. But if you plant yourself in toxic, barren ground, your growth will be stunted no matter how much potential you have. This is why it is essential to evaluate your relationships and ask yourself hard questions. Do the people around me challenge me to grow, or do they keep me comfortable in weakness? Do they celebrate my success? Or are they secretly threatened by it? Do they inspire me to aim higher, or do they pull me down to their level of fear and doubt? Because here's the truth. You cannot live a positive, purpose-driven life while staying in a negative, aimless environment. At some point, you will have to make a choice: your future or their approval. And this is difficult, because loyalty to people can blind you to the cost of staying small. But understand this. True friends are not the ones who hold you back. They are the ones who push you forward, even if it means they lose their comfort in the process. If you want to succeed, you must learn to distance yourself from people who drain your energy, belittle your dreams, or keep you trapped in cycles of negativity, and instead seek out those who challenge you, stretch you, and inspire you to be your best. This does not mean you should judge others harshly or think yourself superior. It simply means recognizing that not every relationship belongs in every chapter of your life. Some people are meant to be temporary lessons, not lifelong companions, and clinging to them only delays your destiny. Protecting your circle is not selfish, strategic. You are not rejecting people. You are choosing growth. And as you grow, you will naturally attract people on the same path, because like attracts like. If you want to surround yourself with disciplined people, become disciplined. If you want to attract ambitious people, with ambition. If you want to meet inspiring people, be inspiring yourself. Your energy will draw others who resonate with it. And remember, it is not just about who you remove from your life. It is also about who you invite in. Seek mentors who have walked the path you aspire to travel, peers who are striving for excellence, and friends who encourage your vision instead of mocking it. The right company can accelerate your growth in ways you could never achieve alone, because collaboration multiplies strength, accountability keeps you consistent, and encouragement fuels persistence. Alone, you may go fast for a while, but together with the right people, you can go further than you ever thought possible. The wrong company, however, can sabotage everything. One toxic influence can drain your energy, distort your perspective, and derail your journey, and often it happens so subtly that you do not realize the damage until years have passed. That is why you must be intentional about your circle. Guard it like treasure, because it shapes your destiny. Even science confirms this truth. Studies show that your habits, health, and even income are directly influenced by the people closest to you. If your friends are fit, you are more likely to be fit. If your peers are ambitious, you are more likely to pursue growth. If your circle values learning, are more likely to expand your mind. Success is rarely a solo journey. It is a community effort, built in the environment you choose for yourself. You say, "But I don't have the right people around me." Remember this. You can start by surrounding yourself with the voices of great minds through books, podcasts, audiobooks, and mentors you may never meet in person. In this digital age, you are never limited to the people in your immediate environment. You can invite wisdom into your life through what you consume, until the right people appear in your reality. But the first step is always the same: choose wisely, because the company you keep today will determine the person you become tomorrow. So, take a hard look at your circle and ask yourself, are these people pulling me closer to my vision or further away from it? If the answer is the latter, then it is time to let go. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with clarity and courage. Because in the end, destiny is too important to be sacrificed for the comfort of unhealthy relationships. Life is short, time is precious, Your future is worth surrounding with the right energy. Remember this: you become the company you keep, so choose carefully, protect intentionally, and align yourself with those who lift you higher. Your circle is not just a reflection of your present, it is the blueprint of your future. Fear is the silent prison that keeps millions of people from living the lives they were meant to live, visible chain that binds dreams before they can take flight, the subtle voice that whispers, "What if you fail? What if you look foolish? What if you're not enough?" And though fear feels like a protector, in truth it is a thief, stealing opportunities, growth, relationships, and fulfillment before they ever begin, because fear convinces you that safety is more important than possibility, comfort more important than growth, survival more important than success. Every great achievement you admire was born on the other side of fear. Every invention, every breakthrough, every act of courage began with someone who felt fear but chose to act anyway. Fear is not the absence of strength, it is the invitation to strength. Because courage does not exist without fear, and growth does not exist without discomfort. The problem is not fear itself, because fear is natural. The problem is allowing fear to control your decisions. You cannot eliminate fear, but you can overcome it, and overcoming it begins with understanding it. Fear thrives in uncertainty, magnifies worst-case scenarios, and paralyzes you with doubt. But when you shine the light of clarity and action upon it, fear shrinks. Think about the fears that have held you back. How many of them ever came true? How many times did the imagined disaster turn out to be nothing more than shadows in your mind? Fear exaggerates, but action corrects. The moment you move forward despite fear, its power weakens, because fear feeds on hesitation, and hesitation only grows the monster. That's why the antidote to fear is always action. Not waiting until you feel ready, not waiting until you feel fearless, but acting while fear is still present, proving to yourself that you are stronger than your doubts. And here's the paradox: when you avoid what you fear, the fear grows, but when you face what you fear, the fear fades. The very act of confronting it rewires your brain, teaching you that fear is not fatal, that discomfort will not destroy you, and that beyond fear lies freedom. But overcoming fear also requires changing your perspective, because most people see fear as a signal to stop, when in truth it is often a sign you are moving in the right direction. Growth is uncomfortable, new opportunities are intimidating, and breakthroughs always feel uncertain. If you feel fear, it may be proof that you are stretching into new territory, of asking, "What if I fail?" Ask, "What if I succeed?" Instead of focusing on what you might lose, focus on what you might gain. Fear shrinks when you shift your questions. And remember, fear is not always about external danger. It often comes from internal lies, the stories you tell yourself about not being good enough, not being ready, not being worthy. These stories are rarely true, but they become powerful because you repeat them. Overcoming fear, then, also means rewriting your inner narrative. Replace "I can't" with "I'll try." Replace "I'm not ready" with "I'm learning." Replace "What if I fail?" with "What if I grow?" These shifts in language turn fear into fuel. And here is another truth: everyone feels fear. Even the people you admire most. Even the ones who seem fearless. The difference is not that they lack fear, but that they refuse to bow to it. They act in spite of it. They keep moving forward even with shaking hands and trembling voices, and over time, their courage grows stronger than their fear. You can do the same. Start small, face the little fears, and as you conquer them, confidence will grow for the bigger ones. Each victory over fear adds to your strength. Soon the very things that once terrified you will become normal, manageable, even exciting. Fear loses its grip when you stop running from it. Let me remind you, your greatest regrets will not come from what you feared and failed, but from what you feared and never tried. Failure is temporary, but regret lasts forever. Do not let fear write your story. Do not let it silence your dreams or shrink your vision. You have one life. It is far too precious to spend imprisoned by what-ifs. Break free by stepping forward, one act of courage at a time. Fear no longer holds the steering wheel of your destiny. Remember this: fear is a liar, courage is the truth, and every time you choose courage, you reclaim your power. The life you desire is waiting, but you must walk through fear to reach it, and the moment you do, you will realize that fear was never as strong as you imagined. It was only as strong as your belief in it. So believe in yourself more than you believe in your fear, and you will be unstoppable. Discipline over motivation is the principle that separates those who achieve extraordinary success from those who live trapped in cycles of inconsistency and regret. Motivation, while powerful, is fleeting. It comes and goes with moods, circumstances, and emotions. But discipline is steady, unwavering, and unshaken by temporary feelings, and when you understand this truth, you stop relying on bursts of inspiration and start building a foundation of habits that carry you forward no matter what. Motivation is like a spark. It can ignite your passion, but unless you build discipline to sustain the fire, the spark will die out, leaving you cold, empty, frustrated. Think about the times you felt motivated to start something new: a workout routine, a business idea, a project, a skill. You began with energy, excitement, and belief. But weeks later the motivation faded, and without discipline, so did your progress. This is the trap most people live in. They wait to feel motivated before taking action. But because motivation is unreliable, their results are unreliable too. Discipline is the antidote, because discipline does not ask, "Do I feel like it?" Discipline says, "Do it anyway." Discipline is not about emotion. It is about commitment. It is the promise you keep to yourself, regardless of circumstances. Here is the truth: every great achievement in history was fueled not by constant motivation, but by relentless discipline. Athletes do not win championships because they always feel motivated to train. They win because they train when they don't feel like it. Writers do not complete books because they are always inspired. They complete them because they sit down and write even on the uninspired days. Entrepreneurs do not build empires because they always wake up excited. They build them because they show up consistently, make hard choices, and keep moving forward when it's inconvenient. Motivation may get you started, but discipline keeps you going until the finish line. The beautiful thing about discipline is that it builds its own momentum. The more you practice it, the easier it becomes. Discipline creates structure, and structure eliminates chaos. When you rely on motivation, you are at the mercy of chance, but when you build discipline, you take control of your destiny. Discipline is freedom. It removes the question of if and replaces it with when. You no longer wonder if you will work, train, or practice. You know you will, because it's part of who you are. And over time, discipline becomes identity. When you consistently follow through on your commitments, begin to see yourself as disciplined, and this self-image becomes self-fulfilling. On the other hand, every time you quit, because motivation faded, you reinforce the identity of someone who is inconsistent, unreliable, and undisciplined. The battle is not external, It is internal. Discipline is how you win it. But do not confuse discipline with harshness or punishment. Discipline is simply self-respect in action, choosing long-term rewards over short-term indulgence, progress over comfort, growth over excuses. Discipline is the bridge between your goals and your reality, and every step across that bridge is a choice to rise above feelings and live by principles. How do you build discipline? First, by creating systems that support your goals. Do not depend on willpower alone. Design your environment so that success becomes easier and failure becomes harder. If you want to eat healthy, remove junk food from your home. You want to focus, turn off distractions. If you want to exercise, schedule it like an unbreakable appointment. Discipline is not about fighting constant battles with temptation. It is about setting yourself up so the right choice is the default choice. Second, start small. Discipline is like a muscle. It grows with consistent use. If you try to change everything at once, you will burn out. If you commit to small daily actions, you will strengthen your discipline until it becomes unshakable. Third, learn to act regardless of mood. Stop waiting for the perfect conditions. Stop waiting to feel ready, because readiness is a lie. You will rarely feel ready. Start anyway. Act anyway, and soon your discipline will carry you further than motivation ever could. Fourth, track your progress, because progress fuels persistence. Seeing evidence of your discipline, whether it's days of consistency, pages written, hours studied, or miles run, reminds you that discipline is working when results are not immediate. And finally, give yourself grace. Discipline is not about perfection. It is about persistence. You will stumble. You will miss a day. You will fall short sometimes. But discipline means getting back up quickly, correcting course, and continuing forward. Missing once does not ruin you. Quitting does. Remember this: motivation may inspire you, but discipline transforms you. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent. Motivation is the spark, but discipline is the fire. Do not build your future on something as fragile as a feeling. Build it on the solid foundation of discipline, and your success will not just be possible, will be inevitable. Because in the end, your dreams do not care if you feel motivated. They only care if you are disciplined enough to pursue them until they become reality. Discipline over motivation, always, every time, because that is how greatness is built. Habits are the invisible architecture of your life, the quiet builders of your destiny, the small, repeated actions that shape who you become and what you achieve. Because while single choices may seem insignificant in the moment, compounded over time they form the foundation of success or the weight of failure. And whether you rise or fall is often less about dramatic events and more about the daily habits you practice without even thinking. Every successful person you admire is not merely defined by talent, intelligence, or luck. They are defined by the habits they consistently nurture, because habits automate success, making the right actions effortless. And when good habits are built, they remove the constant struggle of decision-making, placing uncertainty with momentum. Think about your life now. Your habits around health, mindset, money, relationships. These are the roots that feed the tree of your future. And if the roots are weak, the tree cannot stand strong. But if the roots are strong, nothing can easily topple it. The power of habit lies in the fact that it works whether you are aware of it or not. If you develop good habits, they will work for you. If you develop bad habits, they will work against you, silently eroding your potential while you barely notice. That is why awareness is the first step, because you cannot change what you do not recognize. your days closely. What do you repeatedly do without thinking? Do those actions align with your vision of success? If not, it is time to break free from unconscious patterns and intentionally create new ones that serve your growth. And here is the encouraging truth. You are not a prisoner of your habits, you are their creator, and what you create, you can also recreate. Neurologically, habits form through repetition, building pathways in your brain that become stronger the more you use them, like carving grooves in a path, until it becomes the easiest route to travel. This means every habit you practice is training your brain to find comfort in that action, and over time, it becomes automatic. That is why breaking a bad habit feels difficult. Your brain has been conditioned to expect the behavior. But difficult does not mean impossible. Replace a bad habit with a better one, repeat it consistently, and soon your brain will carve a new path, making the positive choice automatic. The key is not to rely on willpower alone, but to create systems that support your habits, because willpower is limited, but systems are enduring. If you want to read more, place a book where you will see it every morning. If you want to exercise, set out your clothes the night before. If you want to eat healthier, make sure your kitchen is stocked with nourishing food. Success is not about trying harder in the moment. It is about preparing smarter before the moment. Another truth about habits is that they compound, meaning small changes lead to massive results when practiced over time. A single workout won't change your body, but daily workouts will. A single dollar saved won't make you wealthy, but saving consistently will. A single act of kindness won't transform your character, but repeated kindness will make you someone others admire and trust. This is the compound effect, the secret behind all great achievements. Small, consistent habits multiplied by time equal extraordinary results. That is why the most life-changing habits often seem simple or even trivial, because their power is not in one day but in every day. Brushing your teeth once does nothing. Brushing every day prevents decay. Writing once does nothing. Writing daily creates books. Practicing once does nothing. Practicing daily builds mastery. Your habits are the compass of your future, pointing you toward the life you are creating even when you are not paying attention. The challenge, then, is to choose habits that align with the life you want, not the life you fear. Ask yourself, are your habits building you up or breaking you down? Are they moving you toward growth or trapping you in stagnation? Because every action is a vote for the person you are becoming. And here is the empowering realization. You do not need to change everything at once to transform your life. You only need to start with one keystone habit, one small shift that triggers a ripple effect of positive change. Waking up earlier, journaling daily, exercising regularly, practicing gratitude. These simple habits can cascade into other areas, making you more disciplined, more focused, and more fulfilled. Over time, habits create identity, and identity sustains habits. When you no longer just try to exercise but see yourself as someone who values health, the habit becomes permanent. When you no longer just try to read but see yourself as a lifelong learner, reading becomes natural. The strongest habits are those tied to who you believe you are. That is why lasting change comes not from forcing yourself but from transforming your self-image. Because when you shift who you are in your mind, actions follow. But let us not ignore the reality. Building habits requires patience, because transformation is slow, and many people quit before the results appear, failing to realize that invisible progress is happening beneath the surface. Like a bamboo seed that spends years growing roots before breaking through the soil, Your habits are building a foundation long before you see the visible success. And when it finally shows, people will call it sudden. You will know it was the result of consistent habits all along. That is why persistence is critical. Do not measure your progress by immediate results, but by consistent actions. Every day you follow through, casting another vote for your future self, and eventually the votes add up to a transformation no one can deny. Remember, habits can either free you or enslave you, depending on the ones you choose. Are always training yourself. Training discipline or training procrastination, training focus or training distraction, training growth or training stagnation. Which training program are you running? The power is yours. The choice is yours. And once you choose wisely, habits will take over the heavy lifting, carrying you towards success almost automatically, because when discipline becomes habit, success becomes inevitable. Build the right habits, and you will not need to chase success. Success will come to you. Time is the most precious resource you will ever have. More valuable than money, more powerful than opportunities, and more limited than anything else you can imagine. Because while money can be earned back, opportunities can return, and mistakes can be corrected, time once spent is gone forever. The tragedy is that most people do not realize its worth until it has slipped away your attention, leaving them with regret and the haunting question of what they could have done differently if only they had valued their hours, their days, their years with the seriousness they deserved. The value of time lies in its scarcity. You do not know how much you truly have. Yet every tick of the clock is a silent reminder that life is moving forward, and the choices you make with your time are shaping your destiny. You recognize it or not. Look around you. The most successful people are not those with more hours in their day. They, like you, only have 24. But those who recognize that each hour is an investment, each day an opportunity, and each moment a chance to build or waste the life they desire. Time is the equalizer of humanity. No matter your background, your wealth, or your talents, you are given the same 24 hours, and the difference between mediocrity and greatness is simply how you choose to spend them. Ask yourself, how much of your time is spent on activities that align with your purpose, your goals, and your growth, and how much is wasted on distractions, procrastination, or pleasing others? The truth is harsh but liberating. You cannot manage life until you learn to manage time. Time management is not just about productivity. It is about priority. It is about asking, what matters most to me? And then ensuring that your hours reflect that truth. Too often people say, I don't have time, but what they really mean is, I am not prioritizing this. Because time is never lacking. It is always present, but it is often misused. The person who spends hours scrolling through social media but claims they don't have time to read, learn, or exercise is not short on time. They are short on awareness of its value. To spend your time wisely, you must treat it like currency, guarding it against theft, budgeting it toward what matters most, and investing it into habits and actions that yield long-term returns. Consider this: you waste 1 hour a day, you are losing 15 days a year, and over a decade, that is 5 months of your life gone to nothing but triviality. Now imagine if that hour each day was invested in learning, building, creating, or connecting. Your life would transform beyond recognition. Time is the foundation of discipline, and those who respect it achieve far more than those who do not. But valuing time does not mean filling every second with work. It means being intentional, choosing purpose over passivity, and balance over burnout. Rest is valuable if it restores you. Leisure is valuable if it nourishes you. Idle distraction and thoughtless indulgence are thieves of life that steal quietly until you wake up wondering where the years went. To live wisely, you must learn to say no, not just to others but to yourself, to impulses that waste time, to excuses that justify procrastination, fears that delay your dreams. Saying no to what doesn't matter is saying yes to what does. And remember this, time multiplies when invested in the right things. Spend time learning, and it creates wisdom. Spend time exercising, and it creates health. Spend time with loved ones, and it creates memories. Spend time building skills, and it creates opportunities. Every hour compounds for better or worse. The danger is that most people live as if time is infinite, postponing their dreams, delaying their goals, saying, "One day I'll do it," not realizing that one day may never come, and that the clock is always ticking, whether they notice it or not. Not be one of those people. Do not wait until retirement to live, until success to be happy, until tomorrow to start what matters. Life is happening now, is asking you every moment, what will you do with me? The answer defines your future. So stop chasing time, start directing it. Plan your days around what matters most. Guard your mornings like sacred ground, and dedicate your evenings to reflection and growth. Replace mindless consumption with mindful creation. Choose quality over quantity in everything, because life is not measured by how many hours you live, but by how meaningfully you use them. Remember that time is not just something you spend. It is something you trade for your future, your legacy, your fulfillment. Trade it wisely, because every choice is costly, and the cost is measured in the moments you will never get back. The value of time is the value of life itself, and once you embrace that truth, you will never again waste a day. You will know that each sunrise is not just another morning, your full attention, but another priceless chance to build the life you were meant to live. The people you allow into your life will either lift you higher or drag you down, and whether you succeed or stagnate often depends less on your raw talent and more on your environment. Human beings are deeply influenced by those around them, often unconsciously adopting the habits, beliefs, and attitudes of their circle. This truth is both a warning and an opportunity. If you surround yourself with the wrong people, negativity, doubt, and mediocrity will seep into your spirit, but if you intentionally build a circle of positive, driven, and growth-minded individuals, their energy will elevate you, challenge you, and push you toward greatness. Look at the people in your life right now. Do they encourage your dreams? Do they mock them? Do they inspire you to rise, or do they tempt you to settle? Do they celebrate your progress, or do they secretly resent it? Your full attention. These are not small questions, because the answers will reveal whether your environment is helping you thrive or holding you back. Cannot plant seeds of ambition in soil poisoned by negativity and expect them to grow. To spend your time wisely for success, you must recognize that your associations are one of the most powerful forces shaping your future. Because energy is contagious, you will inevitably reflect the energy you constantly absorb. If your circle treats laziness as normal, you will drift toward laziness. Your circle treats growth as exciting, you will crave growth. If your circle treats success as possible, you will believe it too. This is why so many people with potential never fulfill it. They surround themselves with small thinkers, complainers, and doubters. Without realizing it, they slowly shrink to fit the expectations of their group. But the opposite is also true. When you surround yourself with winners, dreamers, and doers, You begin to elevate your standards, you begin to demand more of yourself, you begin to see new possibilities that once seemed impossible. Iron sharpens iron, and people sharpen people, which means your circle is either sharpening you for greatness or dulling you for mediocrity. Some relationships are comfortable but costly. They cost you progress because they keep you in the same place, offering familiarity instead of growth. Others are uncomfortable but invaluable. They challenge you, confront your excuses, and force you to level up. Do not cling to relationships that keep you small simply because they are familiar. Growth often requires leaving behind the comfort of circles that no longer serve you. This does not mean you must cut people out with cruelty, but it does mean you must be intentional, investing more of your energy into relationships that align with your vision and less into those that drain your spirit. Choose mentors who inspire you, peers who challenge you, and friends who believe in you, and you will find that their belief fuels your own. Surround yourself with people who are already living the life you aspire to, because proximity to greatness makes greatness feel possible. When you hear their stories, see their habits, and watch their persistence, you begin to realize that success is not magic. It is discipline, mindset, choices repeated daily. On the other hand, when you surround yourself with people who constantly complain, gossip, or doubt, you unconsciously adopt those patterns too, and soon your vision blurs, your energy weakens, and your motivation fades. Guard your associations like you guard your time, because they are equally valuable. Both shape your destiny. And here is another truth. The right people will not just support you when you succeed. They will hold you accountable when you slack. Accountability is love in action, because it refuses to let you settle for less than your potential, and when your circle challenges you to do better, it proves they care about your growth, not just your comfort. Value those who tell you the truth, even when it stings, more than those who only tell you what you want to hear. Flattery feeds your ego, but accountability feeds your progress. At the same time, remember that you must also be the right person for others. If you want to attract positive, driven people, you must live with positivity and drive yourself. Energy attracts energy. If you want supportive friends, be a supportive friend. If you want inspiring mentors, be a humble learner. You want a powerful circle, be a valuable part of it. Do not just look for what you can receive. Focus on what you can give, because relationships built on mutual growth and contribution are the ones that endure and uplift. And sometimes, the most powerful step you can take is distance. Distance from toxic people. Distance from those who belittle your dreams. Distance from those who drain your energy instead of fueling it. Protect your vision fiercely, because not everyone deserves access to your inner world, and not everyone is equipped to walk with you on your journey. Some people are lessons, not lifelines, and once you learn the lesson, it is wise to move on. Life is too short to spend with those who hold you back. Remember, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So choose wisely. If you want to be disciplined, spend time with disciplined people. If you want to be wealthy, spend time with wealth builders. If you want to be wise, spend time with learners. If you want to be kind, spend time with those who radiate kindness. Your circle is your mirror. If you don't like what you see in your life, it may be time to change your environment. Success is rarely a solo journey. It is built in community, sustained by accountability, and magnified by support. So surround yourself with people who remind you of where you are going, not where you have been. Choose relationships that stretch your vision, energize your spirit, and demand your best, and you will find that success becomes not just possible, inevitable. Because, at the end of the day, who you walk with determines how far you go, and when you walk with the right people, the journey becomes lighter, faster, and far more rewarding than you could ever imagine. Failure is one of the most misunderstood experiences in life, feared by many, avoided by most, yet embraced by all who eventually rise to greatness. Because failure is not the opposite of success. It is a vital part of it, the stepping stone that teaches, refines your full attention, and prepares you for the very achievements you dream of. And the sooner you learn to see failure as feedback rather than defeat, the faster you will progress toward your goals. Society often conditions us to believe that failure is shameful, that mistakes mean weakness, and that falling short is a sign we are not good enough. But this mindset is destructive, keeping countless people trapped in cycles of hesitation and regret, daring to try because they fear the sting of failure more than they desire the thrill of success. But here is the truth. Successful person you admire has failed, and not just once, but many times. More times than they can count, more times than they care to admit, certainly more times than those who never dared to begin. Thomas Edison famously failed thousands of times before creating a working light bulb, but he never called those attempts failures. He called them discoveries of what did not work, feedback guiding him toward what eventually would. Michael Jordan, one of the greatest athletes of all time, missed more shots than most players ever took, yet he saw each miss as part of the process, not as a reason to quit. Oprah Winfrey was once told she was unfit for television. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. J.K. Rowling was rejected by numerous publishers. Yet none of them allowed failure to define them, because they knew failure was not the end of the road, simply a detour leading them closer to the right path. When you embrace failure as feedback, you transform it from a weight that drags you down into a compass that points you forward, showing you what needs to change, what needs to improve, what must be done differently. Failure, when examined honestly, provides data about your strategy, your preparation, your mindset, execution, and with that data, you gain wisdom, and with wisdom, you refine your approach until success is inevitable. The danger is not failure itself, refusing to learn from it, because repeated failure without reflection is wasted pain, but failure combined with reflection becomes growth. This is why resilience is essential. You must develop the courage to rise every time you fall, not because falling is pleasant, but because rising is powerful. Every comeback strengthens you, every lesson builds you, every attempt conditions you to handle greater challenges ahead. Is another truth. Failure humbles you, and humility is the soil in which true greatness grows. Without failure, arrogance blinds you, but with failure, you are reminded that mastery takes time, persistence, and humility to keep learning. If you run from failure, you run from growth. Growth lives in the uncomfortable space of trial and error. Failure strips away illusions and forces you to confront reality, and that confrontation is the birthplace of true progress. But embracing failure also requires shifting your language. Stop saying, "I failed," and start saying, "I learned." Stop saying, "This didn't work," and start saying, "This showed me what to fix." Words shape perception, and perception shapes resilience. If you define failure as final, you will quit. Define it as feedback, you will persist. And persistence is the mother of all success stories. Another key to embracing failure is detaching your self-worth from your outcomes. You are not your mistakes, You are not your setbacks, are not your shortcomings. You are a human being in progress, and failure is part of that progress. When you fail, does not mean you are worthless. It means you are trying, and trying is infinitely more valuable than standing still. In fact, the only true failure is refusing to try, because in that case, you rob yourself of both the lesson and the possibility of success. Do not be paralyzed by perfectionism, waiting until everything feels certain before you act, because certainty is an illusion. Growth comes only through risk. Take action, fail fast, learn faster, and repeat the process until victory is yours. And understand this: failure builds resilience, resilience builds character, and character builds legacy. Some of the strongest, wisest, and most inspiring people you will ever meet are not those who avoided failure, but those who embraced it, endured it, and emerged stronger because of it. They carry scars, but those scars are evidence of battles fought and lessons earned. And one day, scars will tell your story too. A story not of someone who never fell, but of someone who always got back up. So let failure refine you, not define you. Let it strengthen you, not silence you. Let it fuel you, not frighten you. Embrace failure as feedback, because every mistake is simply life saying, here is what you need to improve before you're ready for the next level. And when you start to see failure this way, you stop fearing it. And when you stop fearing it, you become unstoppable. Success belongs not to those who never fall, but to those who never stop rising. Consistency creates success because greatness is never built in a single day, a single effort, or a single burst of energy, but rather in the accumulation of small, deliberate, repeated actions performed day after day, often without recognition, without applause, and without immediate results. And though many people dream of success, only a few achieve it, not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity, because they lack the discipline to stay consistent when motivation fades, when progress feels slow, and when results are not yet visible. Success is not a sprint, it is a marathon, and consistency is the steady pace that ensures you reach the finish line while others burn out, give up, or wander off course. Think about the habits that shape your life. Every positive transformation, whether in health, finances, relationships, or personal growth, comes not from one extraordinary effort, but from ordinary action sustained consistently. The person who goes to the gym once in a while sees little change, but the person who shows up consistently, even on the days they don't feel like it, transforms their body and their mindset. The person who writes a few pages inconsistently will never finish a book, but the one who writes daily, consistently, will one day hold their completed manuscript in their hands. Entrepreneur who shows up to their business only when inspired will remain stuck, but the one who works consistently, improving little by little, will eventually see their business thrive. Consistency compounds, meaning the more you repeat positive actions, the more powerful the results become over time, and this compounding effect is what separates dreamers from achievers. Yet many people quit too soon, failing to realize that success often arrives long after the seeds have been planted, watered, and nurtured in faith. Consistency is the watering of those seeds. The daily act of showing up, trusting that your efforts are building roots beneath the surface, even when you cannot yet see the growth above the ground. And here is the truth. The gap between average and extraordinary is rarely talent. It is consistency, because talent without consistency is wasted potential, while average skills combined with relentless consistency can produce extraordinary results. Consistency is what builds habits. Habits are what shape destiny. But being consistent does not mean being perfect. It means refusing to quit, refusing to let setbacks erase your progress, refusing to start over every time you stumble. The strongest consistency is persistence, falling 7 times and rising 8, missing a day but not missing the next, failing at an attempt but trying again with renewed commitment. Consistency is not glamorous. It is often boring, repetitive, and unseen, but that is why it works, because while others are distracted chasing the next quick fix, the consistent person keeps building brick by brick until their structure stands tall. Success is simply the result of accumulated consistency. The people who seem to, suddenly, achieve greatness are usually those who have been consistent for years in silence, preparing, learning, practicing, and pushing forward. The world sees the highlight but misses the grind, and you must understand that the grind is where the victory is born. Consistency is not just about doing things often. It is about doing the right things often, because consistency without direction is wasted energy. You must be intentional, aligning your consistent actions with your vision, your goals, and your priorities, or else you may work tirelessly but end up far from where you intended to go. This is why clarity is essential. Know what you want, break it down into small daily actions, and then practice those actions consistently until they become habits, because habits sustain you when motivation disappears. And here is another secret: consistency builds trust. Not only with others but with yourself. When you consistently show up for your goals, you build self-trust, proving to yourself that you are reliable, disciplined, and capable. This self-trust is the foundation of confidence. Others begin to trust you too, because consistency is the greatest proof of character. One can be good once in a while, but consistency shows integrity, persistence, and dedication. Whether in business, relationships, or personal growth, respect and rely on those who are consistent. On the flip side, inconsistency breeds doubt, erodes confidence, and sabotages progress, because when you only act when it's convenient, you can never build momentum, and without momentum, success remains out of reach. Momentum itself is the reward of consistency. The more consistently you act, the easier it becomes to keep going, because action creates energy. Repeated action creates unstoppable momentum. That is why the hardest part is often starting, but once you establish consistency, the process carries you forward. Consistency also teaches patience, because it requires you to focus on the process, not just the outcome. To find pride in showing up rather than only in achieving the result. This mindset protects you from discouragement, because you begin to see success not as a single destination but as the daily discipline of consistency itself. If you are consistent, success is already yours, because every day you persist, you are living the very habit that guarantees eventual victory. So, how do you cultivate consistency? Start small, because consistency is not built on grand gestures, but on manageable actions repeated over time. You create systems. Systems remove decision fatigue and make consistency natural. You track progress, because seeing growth fuels motivation. Forgive yourself when you stumble, because consistency is about long-term persistence, not short-term perfection. And most importantly, you commit. Consistency is not optional. It is the non-negotiable foundation of success. Remember this: greatness is never created by what you do once in a while, but by what you do every day. Dreams are not achieved by intensity but by consistency. The person who wins is not the one who does the most in one day, but the one who does something every day, never stopping, never quitting, never losing sight of the bigger vision. Consistency creates success because consistency creates character, identity, and results. When you embrace it as your guiding principle, nothing can stop you. Not failure, not doubt, not setbacks. Consistency turns obstacles into stepping stones and effort into achievement. If you want to succeed, do not just start strong. Stay steady, stay faithful, stay consistent, because success is not a matter of luck or timing. It is simply the reward of never giving up on the small daily actions that build extraordinary lives.